Hey everyone, welcome back. Good evening and welcome to Captial Tonight, a statewide look at politics. I'm Tim Boyne. With leadership changes coming to Raleigh and Washington, public education is at the forefront of the agenda for lawmakers locally and nationally. President-elect Donald Trump has nominated Betsy DeVos, a school choice advocate from Michigan, to be his Secretary of Education. So how will policies under the Trump administration affect public education and school choice right here in the Tar Heel State? Joining us for more on that tonight, Darrell Allison, Director of Parents for Educational Freedom of North Carolina, and Keith Poston, President of the Public School Forum of North Carolina. Gentlemen, good to see you. Welcome to the program.
Thanks, Tim.
Congratulations on surviving the election as we hit the holidays here. We have a new superintendent of public instruction who is a Republican. We have a new president-elect who's a Republican. All of those seem to be supportive of school choice. Mm-hmm. You're a big school choice supporter. I mean, are you pumping the pom-poms for this?
Yeah, I'm a supporter of parental school choice. And listen, there are Democrats who favor such as well as Republicans. And so, from that mindset, I am looking at, a situation where we're probably looking at a significant transformative period as relates to the traditional way of how we look at public education, if you will. As I've always said, that in the 21st century, we need to look at public education from a very comprehensive standpoint. Public schools, by and large, is the largest part of that pie. But public charter schools, scholarships for private schools, also a part of that, particularly as it relates to families and communities. And when you look at the growth, not only here in North Carolina, but nationally, with over 25 states now having private school choice, things of that nature, over 50 programs, nearly $2 billion that are utilized for such, as well as the growth of public charter schools here in North Carolina, nearing 70% growth since 2001 in 5 years. There is this scenario here that we're kind of catching up with the demand for more of the citizens, and maybe government shifts to that, to where parents have some say-so in how to decide that education is going to work best for their children.
So Keith, does that put you in a position where you feel like you're playing defense?
I'm not sure, but I'm not sure. We've already been in that position for the last 5 years in North Carolina anyway. I mean, whether the creation of private school vouchers through the Opportunity Scholarship Program, the lifting of the cap on charters, the creation of 2 virtual charter schools. I mean, all those things happen here in North Carolina anyway when Republicans have been in control of the governor's mansion in both houses, and we didn't see much of a change in the House leadership. And really, when you think about education, it is primarily a state and local driven issue. Even if the federal government, starts, pushing forward with more, say, funding for choice, for vouchers, it would probably, my guess is, and I wasn't surprised at all about Betsy DeVos, that kind of a pick, it would probably look a lot like the race to the top type funding, where you might see a lot of new dollars flowing in to existing programs within a state like North Carolina. But, it's a concern, I would say, because for us, our public schools, which, educate by far the largest percentage of kids in North Carolina, are woefully underfunded. Our teachers are still near the bottom in terms of pay. Our principals are at the bottom in terms of pay. Per pupil spending puts us near the bottom. So at a time when our public schools need resources, we are funneling them away, and for what we see are largely unaccountable private schools.
So, again, I know there'd be those who would segment education, and we know, this versus that, traditional versus non-traditional. I don't see it that way. I'm the biggest school choice supporter in North Carolina, but my 2 daughters are in traditional public school. I'm a big supporter of our local public school. The vast majority, 1.5 million children, are educated in our traditional public school. It's going to continue that way, not only at the state level, but national level. I think the thing we need to look at is, what can we do? Can we not throw the baby out with the bathwater? Can we fly and fix the plane while we're flying? And I think we can. I think we've seen it in the last 5 years. There's no denying, Keith, that we've seen some growth here and other options, but we've increased funding in public education. We have increased pay for teachers, maybe not to where we want it to be. And as you know, right, there's major talk, and I think we're going to see walk in growth in terms of increase in funding for our principals, if you will.
So, just this week?
Right, just this week. So what I'm saying is, when you talk about a multi-billion-dollar entity, 2,600 traditional public schools, it takes time to right that ship. I think we can do that and do that well as provide families, particularly low-income working-class families, where we know that the schools that are zoned to them, for whatever reason, aren't quite the best work for them, and there's a public charter school and there's a non-public school that's willing to have them. Why not embrace that as well?
But I mean, and I think you make a couple of fair points. But the fact is, we're talking about significant money. $24 million for opportunity scholarships this year. We're looking at doubling. By the time we get, say, 10 years out, we may be spending about $1 billion over that 10-year period, taking money out of taxpayers' dollars and giving them to private schools that are, frankly, shockingly, not transparent about, where they spend their money, about what they teach, about what the curriculum is, what the kids are learning, what the tests they're taking. It's really, and this is at a time when our public schools are being tested to death, are being graded by this ridiculous A to F school grading system that basically measures how poor the student body is. And so we're doing this at a time when our schools need the money, and really, I think, not having the kind of transparency and accountability we need to have.
We only have 2 minutes left, but I do want to ask you, the transparency is always the biggest question that comes up. Would you support methods to make it more transparent when it comes to some of the testing and some of the other things you're concerned about?
So 2 points to that. The same arguments you hear from those who dislike public charter schools. If you go back 5 years, Tim, on your show, you hear the same arguments that public charter schools don't have the same testing requirements, et cetera, as traditional public schools. I don't think you have to have the same. I think private schools have a unique model in which they're to educate children. They're more in the national testing model. Here in North Carolina, it's the state testing. And so, yes, we want accountability and transparency. That's also in the Opportunity Scholarship Program, and we'll continue to work at that to make sure that we have high flyers participate in the program. But again, I'm not saying that the same means the equal.
But there's a world of difference, and there's a world of difference in public charters and the accountability and the oversight they have. I mean, I do worry that they are sort of rushing into trying to sort of go quantity over quality, but there's a big difference in what the public charters have to go through than the Opportunity Scholarship schools and the virtual charter schools.
I will say this too, lastly, Tim, when you look at traditional public schools, and this is where you're hitting at something here. When you look at Wake County alone, in 2 years, there have been more increase in enrollment in the non-traditional schools, private school, public charter school, homeschool, than there has been in traditional public school. What you've seen as a result, the largest school district in the state, is that they're starting to implement more choice in their school model. That more of the schools that have been lower performing are now adopting the public charter school model.
Well, I think choice is good. Let's just make sure it's good. It's quality. I think, and that's.
And you get no arguments with you on that.
Well, what's definitely for sure is with these choices and these changes election, I think we'll be talking about these issues a lot more in the years ahead, and we'll hope we come back. Good to see you both. Thank you so much.
Thanks so very much.
All right, time for one last break. When we return, the advocates debate the issues making headlines this week. We'll be talking about education. We'll be right back.